You're listening to Fanboy Versus with your hosts, JD Church, Chris McFeely, and Chris Triplett.
And you are listening to Fanboy Versus. I am your host, JD, joined by Chris McFeely. Triplett is out. I don't even know what he's doing, but he's out. He's not here, but we're here. So this week, it is Fanboy versus the short staff, because, you know. But hey, I don't know, maybe, we might, I don't want to, blow it, but we might have a special guest, maybe, later. Maybe. No video?
It's going to be one of them weeks.
Someone's saying no video. There's bound to be video. Is it?
No video.
Okay, well, we'll go with that then. So, okay, so apparently it's something with my webcam, but that's okay, because otherwise the whole show is just going to be watching me talk to myself, which I figured out.
Yeah, there's no one else in there anyway.
Yeah, so, should I have a title card now? Is that okay? Yeah, anyway. Yeah, I watched this, I figured out how to load the shows. You can actually watch all of the video shows from, he's saying yes, good deal. All of the video shows from the TF Radio Network on your TiVo. There's a way to link it up. I think I'm actually going to do a blog post on how to do that. So anyway, I watched our show, and I realized that our show is sitting there watching me talk for however long the show is. And when the show is 2.5 hours, that's a long time to stare at my ugly mug. So I might be trying to mix it up a little bit. But I guess for this show, we'll just go with the title card, and that will work. So, anyway, we got a little bit of a show for you here. Apparently,
Just a little one.
just a little one, not a big one. It's not going to be as amazing as last week. We hope you enjoyed our 2010
Rewrap. Yeah, we wrapped it badly. They put it on the pile. Our wives rewrapped it.
Right. It was re-gifted our 2010 show. Which I thought actually came out very nicely.
It came together quite nicely in the end.
I was happy with it.
I thought.
But as for comics later, I have this huge stack of comics that I may talk about some, and McFeely has like maybe 2. So
I got nothing this week. I don't know what it is. There is just... I got like some stuff, but it's nothing worth talking about. So I had to pick something from like last week to talk about as well. I don't know. And I was like, I didn't get Spider-Man this week because it was late.
Oh.
I don't even have that.
And I wanted to talk about it, but I guess I shouldn't because you haven't read it.
It's my birthday.
So it's I'm banned. I cannot. It is.
Well, I got stuff next week, so I'll have stuff to talk about next time.
Okay. Well, next week will be.
Let's talk about some news.
Let's get to the news. There's some news. There's some good news this week-ish. So why don't you go ahead?
It's movie news.
It's movie news, but
one of these days we're gonna have some real comic news that's not about it.
We have real comic news after the movie news.
Sometimes. Well, Casada Out was real comic news.
We do today. We got Flashpoint, but we'll get there after the movie news. So.
Yeah. Well, we got pictures. Movie pictures. We got the first picture of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. What do we think about that?
I mean, it's one of those deals where, like, if you were to just glance at it and then glance at the Raimi costume, I don't know that you would... I think you might say, oh, it's different, but I don't know that you could be pinned down to say what is. But he doesn't have a belt. And that's a little weird.
That is weird, but it is like the one thing that it sort of... It lacks that breaky-uppy bit in the middle without the belt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like... it ends up just being a big arrow pointing at his nuts. And I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I had 2 immediate opinions. And one was, I like that he's not bulked up.
Yes. Now that is a big deal because
He looks like a Steve Ditko drawing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He looks slender.
Well,
probably he's probably very solid.
Dare we say like Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yes, like well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that they're doing some thing on the Ultimate Universe a bit with that. But would you know? I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see some big ass eyes on his.
Yes, let's
do away with the little Ditko size eyes that Raimi had. I want some big baggly eyes on his mask.
Yeah, because that is something. I mean, interviewing the image. I mean, I had to do a search yesterday, but it's basically an image of him sort of walking somewhere or standing with his head down, but he doesn't have the mask on. So you get sort of the upper torso and parts of the hands, but not the whole costume. Now, it does look like there's some stylized bits around the glove where there's some lines that break it up. And also, are there knobby bits? Knobby things?
I don't know. I haven't really looked that closely at hands, but I do keep hearing people say there are knobby things down there to indicate mechanical web shooters.
Yes, I did. I mean, if you look at it, you can sort of see them there. I don't know what it means. I don't know if it's actually web shooters, but you know, I don't know. I mean, it's been different ways in the comics as far as whether, you know, I mean, the web shooters, I think for most people they're a big deal because it lends that credence to how technical Peter is, that he does actually, you know, he is sort of genius level. I mean, that he is something we talked about with the big time with Peter and saying, you know, that he's trying to get him back into this. He is smart. He is resourceful. So if he has the web shooters, we could sort of see that. But I understand why Raimi didn't go with them. I understand why he went with the organic shooters. It just makes it easier from a story standpoint.
Yeah, the organic shooters is a purely story-driven sort of decision. You know, I mean, they originated with what James Cameron's original script that was being worked on in the 90s. And he was going to build a whole story about how they made Peter feel like a freak and an outcast and everything. But you don't need to do that.
No.
And, yeah, I mean, they purely exist as a story convenience to not have to explain that. So Marvel's really bizarre attempt to fit them into the comic somehow just didn't work.
It felt horrible.
That must surely be the one thing now that One More Day undid that hasn't actually been explained.
You mean explained as to why it was undone?
Why they disappeared. I mean, you know, he got the organic web shooters in a rather dreadful story in which he got turned into a female spider who was pregnant and gave birth to himself.
Yes, I remember reading about that. I missed out on it, but man.
I've read that, sadly.
That's crazy.
Mentalism. Yeah, but he just doesn't have them now again after One More Day happened, and where they were treating it back then as magic, everything changed. The other writers have since gone back and filled in all the gaps to show what actually did happen afterwards, to explain the mind wipe and why people are back alive now and why Aunt May's house is rebuilt and everything. Well, they've explained where the organic web shooters went. The other thought that I had when I saw the picture as well, though, was that I was a little bit disappointed to see it looking so grimdark.
Yeah, it does look, yeah.
I mean, I want a Spider-Man who's just gonna crack a fucking joke.
Yeah, and it does
I think the entire world, if they agreed on anything ever, must surely have agreed about Raimi's Spider-Man. It was just how miserable it was.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, I don't know. It's not... This looks
I
pretty...
want to see a more lighthearted Spider-Man. No, obviously he's just had his ass kicked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the indication that he's definitely...
We need to get a better look at the costume, because this is some sort of a soiled and battered version of it.
Yeah,
but I hope it's really not going to denote the tone of the thing, ultimately. But I like the look of it, and I want some big, baggly eyes.
Yeah, although a belt would be... But that's a little late for a belt.
Well, yeah, not much change. Yeah.
So
we saw also someone's costume we got to look at this week. We saw, I believe it's the first picture of Chris Evans himself in full Captain America costume, full regalia.
Yeah, it's not the first. It's not the first image that we've had of the costume because we've had mock-ups and drawings and things. But
at one point.
Yes, and there was sort of a weird stuntman with a weird face cap thing. But yeah, I think this is the first image of actual Chris Evans in the costume that is going to be the Captain American costume. So I like it. I mean, I think it's. I mean,
I don't want to see him running around with it in the present day. That's what I'll say about it. It is clearly drawing from the Ultimates World War II version of the costume. It's not a particularly faithful rendition of it, but it's the old World War II helmet and lots of pouches and straps and things. It's pretty clearly drawing from that, and I would hope to see a more streamlined version of it in any future films or in the Avengers film where he's in the present day.
Well, are they? I mean, maybe that's a question to ask too, because do you think that they're moving in a more ultimate direction for some of the film stuff, or
ultimately, that was not intended to be.
Yeah.
I don't really think so, no. I think that whenever we see something ultimate-ish in the films, it is purely because it's purely because the Ultimate books just did it originally in a more cinematic style, and the idea just comes better off of that storyline. I don't think it's a conscious decision to focus on the Ultimate books over anything else. I mean, you look at Iron Man, you know.
It's clearly modern. It's not.
Yeah.
Not that Ultimate version.
It's not Ultimate. So we've got Ultimate Nick Fury walking around in there, and that's really about it, I suppose. But
But doesn't Thor have a lot more image-wise in common with?
Not particularly. No. This seems to be pure classic Thor.
Okay.
I mean, his neat little beard is the ultimate. But he's got the long blonde hair flowing freely like classic Thor instead of hippie ponytail like Ultimate Thor. Okay. He's got a cape and he's got his hat and everything. That's what it has been the most excited about Thor, is that it is pure Thor, pure classic Thor, and it's gonna be awesome. Thor, yes, Thor.
He has the cap in like a scene, but I didn't see that much.
Well, we see him in the trailer. Yeah, we see him take his hat off as he bows to Odin,
which looks to be pretty early.
Yeah, that's before Odin casts him out. So he's not going to be wearing it while he's on Earth or anything. But and I imagine it probably just get in the way whenever he's flying through the air and punching a load of people. But it's there, and that's the important.
Smacking him with Mjolnir.
Giants, and the Warriors there's going to be, and the Destroyer's going to be stomping around, and the Hobbit's going to play Odin. He's been the Odin sleep, and then you are wicked cruel, you are all about it, a fool, and Thor's going to be awesome.
Are we getting Wrecking Crew, you think, maybe next?
Maybe in the second film.
That would be kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah. Once you've done Loki, you kind of.
Yeah, you're sort of boxed in. Yeah, there's not much. Well, I guess. Well, do we know what they're doing as far as, we haven't heard much talk as far as what the actual like Avengers villain is going to be, have they, or?
Not really. I mean, I believe the word is that Tom Hiddleston's still going to be in it as Loki, but whether or not that...
how much that'll play in. I'm hoping for MODOK. I want MODOK.
MODOK, I don't think the world is ready for a live action.
Oh, come on!
Oh, I'd love it. I just don't think...
Big head, little arms.
A giant's head on an infant's body. Reminds me, you'll see if the new Avengers...
oh yeah, there should be a new one up today. I finally got caught up, so I'm caught up to the first of the Kang.
Yeah.
So, which is really good. We haven't talked about that in a couple of weeks, but I'm really digging that Avengers series. It's
oh shit, yeah, there it is. I'll just be having that.
There you go. Download that. Speaking of downloading, I, for some unknown reason, even to myself, downloaded the 90s live-action Flash series to watch.
I've wanted to watch some of that, but ultimately I don't think I would have the sticking power to get through it all. I would probably just watch the episode with Captain Cold and Mirror Master and Trickster.
Yeah. Watching the first episode or watching the pilot right now, it's kind of weird. I didn't realize that they had a Jay, who's Jay Allen in the TV series as his brother. So sort of a weird nod to the Earth 2 Jay Garrick character. It looks just, I mean, the guy I've seen him in other like character roles, but what a pick for Jay. Looks exactly like Jay. And the guy playing Barry looks nothing like Barry. But
what does Barry look like? Barry looks an awful lot like a piece of cardboard.
Yeah.
But hey, if Green Lantern can achieve a modicum of success, it'll maybe open up the possibility of DC making a film about somebody other than Batman or Superman.
Yeah. I don't know. It all comes down to what you do and how much time you have to explain it. I mean, with Batman, you don't need a lot of time. He's really rich. He just built those, he builds all this stuff, or like they did in the first film, he just got it all from stuff that was sort of laying around. For Superman, once you have the setup that, he's an alien, that's all you need. But to do the Flash, you've got to go through
the whole...
You would
think, wouldn't you? But instead, they have him lifting islands and setting down planes.
Oh, God.
Just put fucking Brainiac in it.
Yeah, there you go.
This is Zack Snyder's directing the second one now, and the first thing I heard was that he was talking about doing General Zod, and I'm like, no! Get away from the Donner movies!
God, we're done with that character. I'm so done with that character.
Brainiac!
I mean, how...
But a year of Zod in Smallville already. So I get that he's in the public consciousness. Would you just do Brainiac? He is like literally the only other member of Superman's Rogues Gallery who is a viable villain to carry a movie. Because Superman's Rogues Gallery is rubbish.
Well, then
being the
Parasite. I mean, yeah. Like, where are you gonna go? Parasite.
Can't carry a movie. He's a goon,
Mitzelplick.
Yep.
I mean, no.
No. Metallo.
Now
somebody's got to turn Metallo into Metallo, so that
you have to explain all of that. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, it's just that it automatically makes Metallo secondary to the greater power that transformed him. Who's going to wind up being Lex Luthor? And when you got the Toy Man, no. And then Silver Banshee is probably where you're reduced to scraping it at that point. Then.
Yeah. I mean.
Brainiac, and then your big third act set piece involves him unleashing the genetically engineered monster he created, named Doomsday. Superman beats it, and then for a denouement in the fourth act, he beats Brainiac. That's how it works. That's how you make your Superman movie.
Now I'm gonna make my Superman movie where Lois is a hero and Lex Luthor is actually awesome.
Arcade64 says he considers Darkseid part of Superman's Rogues Gallery, but I can't personally.
He's too big. That is too big and too much to explain to a modern audience. The only way that you do
the fourth world needs to be its own film.
Really, I mean that could be its own thing. Like that's got enough characters. Build it, go with the new gods and just have that be its own thing. But I don't see that. I don't see that making live action. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I think there's great stories. So yeah, I mean, but even at that, like even to make it make sense in Smallville, the only way that they're doing that is they're explaining it as this sort of force that shows up every now and again. And
well, I've already had my prediction in for the final episode of Smallville, so we'll see how that.
I think you're right. I don't think you're going to be far off. I mean, based on what they've done, Mongol is sort of crap. But. I don't know. Maybe he could work. I hate Superman. Anyway, I don't want to talk about Superman. What I want to talk about is the Captain America costume that we forgot about. 10 minutes ago. But anyway, I like this costume, and I what are the soldiers behind him? And there's like all these little questions like with that. But
I'm guessing those are Hydra robots or Hydra soldiers of some kind.
But they're not green and yellow. They need to be green and yellow, and one of them should be Bob.
Oh.
No? Okay. I miss Bob. But yeah, it looks good. I'm excited.
Don't worry, if you pick up Deadpool Max, you can see the Max version of Bob being violently sodomized by Hammerhead.
Ooh. I don't know. I think Bob got worse at Deadpool's hands. There was the one, what was it, from last year, I guess, where he kept having, he bought the pirate ship, and he had Bob dressed up in this huge parrot costume, and he just kept beating him with a stick until he complied with what he wanted him to do.
Poor Bob, you were a character once.
Oh, man. He's a great character, especially originally. Those first few comics with Bob were just stellar. I mean, there was nothing funnier. I mean, what a way to sort of thumb your nose.
Well, I don't know if here's a correlation for you. I just said violently sodomized, and we shot up by 4 viewers in the live stream.
Yeah, I know. I have to say it's sodomy, apparently. Yeah, those are probably monitors. Anyway, it's probably like listening for poor content. They're talking about sodomy. We need to listen in.
Yes.
Sodomy on Ustream.
Oh, we lost one.
Oh, yeah, I know. Anyway,
obviously ended.
So they realized that it was a harmless show that no one's listening to.
So Flashpoint.
So till Flashpoint, right? So anyway, so yes, very exciting. Captain America, and then it's gonna be a huge, absolutely huge, like upcoming couple of comic book films with Captain America, Green Lantern, Thor before that, Spider-Man, First Class.
Yeah, God, everybody keeps forgetting about First Class, but that's because it's so immensely forgettable. Who's even talking about it? You know, we've not seen a picture at all.
I've seen some images from production, but
yeah, but nothing.
It's so.
We got Thor in March. No, we got Thor in April. Green Lantern in Thor's at the very end of April. Green Lantern in June. And then Captain America in July. And funnily enough, I predict that will be the descending order of success.
Yeah. But to get on First Class for just a second, could that story for that film be any more convoluted and confusing to a potential audience? I mean, it's supposed to. It's set in the 1960s, but the
that's just silly.
The characters are pulled from all kinds of different timelines, and they're intersecting in a place where none of them should be. So, yeah. I mean, it's just gonna, for the fans, it's if you thought you pulled your hair out at the first X-Men film, wait till you get to First Class, because I mean,
I would have more concern for the poor viewers who are just used to the films.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because
how do you see that? But that doesn't make any sense. He wasn't there in that one, and
where did this character come
from? I
from?
felt the need to do this,
some of the things that Marvel is doing is confusing me. Like, I don't know, not paying Jon Favreau enough to stay on for Iron Man 3. Might have been a good idea, because now you're gonna have to get some chump that doesn't know what they're doing, and they're going to try to write that, or direct it, and, it's just not going to be as awesome. Or it's at least going to be a lot to live up to. So, I don't know. Marvel Studios does stuff that confuses me sometimes, but so far they've put out decent stuff, so what do I know? Nothing, because I'm not rich. So, anyway, okay, so let's get on to actual comic book news stuff. Flashpoint?
Flashpoint.
What?
There's a bunch of teasers. I think it's been released online, right?
I believe so.
Yes, maybe just on DC's blog, actually, I think. We'll see how long before they start appearing. But it's basically just the Flashpoint logo. There are how many of them? There are 5 of them? There are 5 of them, 6 of them? Yeah, five of them. And it's just a single line of text. The spaceship never crashed. He spent his days running Wayne casinos. They experimented on him in a lab for years. Where is his ring? They're now arranged to prevent war. So
now, yeah,
definite hints that we're dealing with some alternate timeline stuff here.
possibly, but now three of these images have been explained, or have been not explained, but partially explained, right? Because they have actual images attached. Because have you seen this, or am I giving you this?
Maybe not. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at the.
So
okay, I'm seeing stuff. I know, yeah.
Yeah, he spends his days running away casinos, which is a Batman-ish symbol. I wouldn't say that's a full Batman symbol, but
it's a Batman-ish.
It's a Batman-ish.
Well, I think that was the obvious one anyway. That it was about Wayne casinos.
Yeah.
The marriage was arranged to prevent war. One is evidently about Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
Yes. So that's
now,
wacky.
People would have logically thought that the spaceship never crashed was Superman, and that the "Where is his ring" would have been Green Lantern. And I saw the experiment on him in a lab one. The suggestions flying over that were for Martian Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
But given that the selection of pictures here shows the Flash's logo under "Where is his ring,"
mm-hmm.
that would suggest to me that the spaceship that never crashed was probably Abin Sur's spaceship.
Yes, that could very possible. Mm-hmm.
And the person who's been experimented on in a lab is probably Superman.
Could be. So wacky. Nice little moving the ball and the cups around there a little bit. But I don't know. I think the thing that's most interesting to me out of these is the a marriage arranged to prevent war, and it's Wonder Woman and Aquaman. So
it's like they put the two characters that I could give the least shit of a shit about in the same story together.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. That could be interesting. But that's the only one that sort of, threw a curveball for me. I mean, the biggest curveball, I think.
Because it's not about actually doing something that alters their origin point.
Right. It's about, it's changing something potentially. And there's all these talks that have been going on that seem to be these changes with Wonder Woman anyway. So...
Yeah. We'll see if that fact... I mean, I'm starting to think more and more like that specifically what's been going on with Wonder Woman is not going to factor into this story. And that it's possible that these little hints we've been getting about time... I beg your pardon, touch your wind. The time being broken. I'm starting to suspect that these may just be coincidental stories that he was able to thread into a nice little tease.
Mm-hmm.
The image of Batman being in the past and the two Wonder Woman's history being changed. I think that they may just be retroactively established to be symptomatic of whatever the greater threat that is actually going on in the story. We still don't really know much beyond this, though. I'm looking forward.
No, there's some writer. That's the only other thing. Is there's some dude on a Flash-style motorcycle-ish thing?
Yes, Hot Pursuit.
Hot Pursuit, yeah. Whatever that is. So, but so May 2011 is when this is supposed to come. So I'm assuming this will be at the end of Brightest Day? Is this after Brightest Day?
Yeah, I guess it would be, wouldn't it? Where are we on Brightest Day now? This is 18 is out this coming week, so that means 6, 2, 8, 4, February, March, April, May. Well, Brightest Day will be ending in May, so I guess this will kick off right after, around the same time.
So it'll cross over into that. So, interesting.
Indeed.
Hopefully it'll be more exciting.
Looking forward. Hopefully, we basically just have to say we hope it'll be good.
Yes. I mean, I don't want to say Brightest Day has been bad. It's not been bad. It's just not been.
It's not been bad. It's just been not. It hasn't. It's been no 52.
No.
Nothing has been. There's been nothing has managed to accomplish the quality level that 52 reached.
I mean, that's
the weekly things they've done.
That's a hard one to live up to, and it makes me wonder about the viability of really trying to do that now every year, because it seems like that's what they're doing. They're trying to.
Well, it seemed they learned for a minute there. For half a second, it seemed like they'd learn when we didn't get that done. When following Trinity, they didn't immediately launch into another year-long thing, and instead they did Wednesday Comics, which was great. Where's my second volume of Wednesday Comics?
No.
That's what I want. If you got to do something weekly, give me more of that.
Nope. So,
Evidently.
yeah, we're just going to get more of this, So, I guess we'll talk about comics.
Yeah, let's do that.
So, this is going to be a little weird because, again, McFeely doesn't have very much that he read. And I
got two things that we're going to talk about. So you go first. You do your thing.
Let me talk about a few of these, and then we'll talk about yours. I don't want to talk about all of these. I think we're going to talk about Secret Six at the very end, so we'll set that to the side. I think
maybe we should talk about the other book to the end because of how unusual it is.
I'll talk about it at the end of my stuff. I'll put it that way. So I can't.
Well, that's the only other thing I've got. So
I can't talk about Amazing.
No, you can't. It is verboten.
It is verboten that I talk about. Okay, so let me run through some of these real quick. First of all, Jen Lost. I'm not going to do a full review on this. Basically, we have like a flashback moment for Jaime. At the end of the last issue, he was kidnapped by Maxwell Lord, and now he's sort of strapped to a machine. His suit ability is restricted, and Max is now apparently taking control of Kara. And at the same time, the rest of the creature commandos blank out and forget what they were doing and stop beating the crap out of the JLI. Meanwhile, the UN pulls checkmate status, and we find out that the White King has actually been working for Maxwell Lord, and the Black King has turned into an OMAC. Right. That is pretty much the breadth of the comic. Other than, again, this point where Kara seems to be under control of Max. Pretty snoozy. I was not real... I mean, it just did not live up to the level of where that comic has been the last few weeks. It felt, I guess it's more like a transition issue, so...
Yeah, my attention has certainly drifted away. I mean, I haven't been buying it regularly anyway, and my attention has very much drifted in and out with that book. But when there was all that cool shit happening there for an issue or two a while ago, my attention was definitely drifted in, but it's drifted off again now.
Yep. Emerald
That seems
Warriors...
to be the better book, though.
Yeah, it's still good. I mean, it's still good, but it's not... This issue was not the best. I mean, it's probably the weakest issue in a while. So
can we just take a 2-minute break?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have to go do something I really should have done before I started doing the show. Be right back.
Well, okay. Well,
sorry, listening audience. I'll be right back. Sorry.
Well, I'll give a longer review of.
Yeah, you talk about Emerald Warriors.
Emerald Warriors while you're doing the thing.
Edit this later.
No, I won't. I can't do that. I can't edit it out of the video for sure.
Send it to Brian.
So Brian won't fix it. Anyway, so Emerald Warriors from this week. The last issue was the revelation to Kilwog, and I can't remember the other girl's name because she's basically unimportant. That guy had sort of tricked him into helping him out. And that he had this big vision of death thing and all these wacky images, but didn't really tell them that that's what he saw, and that's why they were really going to the unknown sector to look for the power drain or whatever that's out there. So, Arissa, thank you. Arisia. I think it's called Arisia. Okay. So, thanks, Barricade64. You're my hero. Anyway, so they get into a big argument, and he actually tells them what he saw in the vision, which were all things, of course, that we saw anyway, where he's fighting Hal, and there's Green Lanterns fighting Green Lanterns, and the image from Daxam, and then the three-eyed guy, who we don't really know who he is. And then, of course, Krona controlling all of the entities. Which is cool because he basically recreated all of the images in his green constructs, so it's sort of like mirroring the red. But anyway, that doesn't go over very well with Kilowog, and they end up leaving. They end up leaving his ass. So he even begs him. He's like, please, help me out. I promise to make it up to you or whatever. And they're like, nope, peace out. See you later, bitch. Which just leaves him with the succubus chick, and so they end up riding off together to find to find the 30-eyed guy. I don't know his name. Please, thank you. It's her name. I don't know why, and you may have noticed if you're a frequent listener of this show, I am really bad with names. I don't. Thank you. So anyway, but I don't.
Clearly, obviously, this comic left its mark on you.
Well, what's more interesting is what happens later when they actually get to the planet where the guy has all the psychic captives, and he gets into a huge brawl with him, and he also mentions that one of his visions believes was having her eyes chewed out by the snakes, which means she may be taken captive at some point. But I think Guy's Red Lantern abilities might come in handy here, because this guy's psychic abilities are sort of dominating his willpower, which means it's diminishing his ability to use the Green Lantern ring. So if he sort of embraces the Red Lantern abilities, it may actually help him fight this guy. But in the meantime, he's got to fight Sodom Yacht, who is now under this guy's control as well. So it's picking up a little bit. We're sort of moving somewhere. The next issue is titled "There Will Be Blood." Ha!
Do you see what they did there?
With the red in the blood. Yes, the red lanterns.
Up their own blood.
To make the constructs.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, let's see. So, not much to say out of Booster. I mean, it's the first issue for new storyline, which they're calling the Life and Times.
Quotes.
New storyline, ish. But they brought back this Nazis. Nazis are all the rage now, apparently. Because they're showing up in a lot of different fictional media for comics. Why? No idea. Anyway, they basically recount, if you didn't know, most of this comic is recounting Booster's origin. So if you've been living under a rock and didn't know Booster's origin, this
to be fair, now, you wouldn't have to be living under a rock to have missed out on the thrilling origin of that A-list character, Booster Gold.
Come on, he's the hero of 52. He's got a great origin. This character has a great origin story. Name me an origin story that is so terrible in the sense of it is so non-heroic. It is the most unheroic origin of most of the mainline heroes in the DC universe. I mean, essentially, this dude is almost a villain. I mean, he becomes a hero, and he even points out later in this issue, he basically became a hero for all the wrong reasons. He did it for the fame and the money, and now he is like an actual hero, and he has like zero credibility. So, I mean, he spent that entire, search for Bruce Wayne just getting punched in the balls repeatedly by Hal Jordan about what a bastard he is. And the reality is that he saved the multiverse more times, or the universe, if you will, than anybody could count. So, but that's all the more respect you get because he had a, sort of crap origin. But the big thing, and I'll give this at the end. So at the end of the comic, Booster. So basically, in the course of the comic, one of the Nazi henchmen tries to hack into Rip's computer to get Booster's history, and he basically gets right up to the point where Booster joins the JLI. But he doesn't get any of the multiverse hopping 52 stuff or anything after that. So they really don't know the the finer, deeper details.
The true extent of the importance of Booster.
Right, exactly. And so him and Rip start having a conversation about, Booster kind of being down on himself and whatever. And somewhere in the midst of that, the conversation starts to take a little bit of a turn. And then Rip turns around and shoots him with some sort of electric disruption gun, and basically tells him that because of his crimes committed, he has to pay. He has to basically stand trial, and he's putting him under arrest to take him back to the 21st century and trial. Wow, didn't see that coming.
Interesting, no.
Yeah.
Wonder what's going on there. Why he suddenly turned.
Because what else is in the 25th century? Isn't that where the court that was trying Flash was?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Huh.
That's where Booster comes from. So.
Right, and Booster is from that timeline.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if this was some kind of Flashpoint time is broken thing, it would be a wonderful irony that the first hint of something decent coming out of these creators on Booster is some sort of editorially mandated tie-in to a greater.
Yeah. So I don't know. So we'll see where that goes. That could be interesting. And real quick, I don't want to. I'm not going to linger on this issue, but I've been talking about how much I've been enjoying Batman and Robin, and this issue was no exception. This was the final 3-part. For the new character that they introduced. The 3-part was the sum of her parts, and the villainess is, what did they call her?
Absence.
Absence, yes. So she basically ends up, through the course of the story, she ends up sort of tricking them and capturing Batman and Robin, and putting them in these back-to-back chairs with drills, and the drills keep getting closer, but they're on the chairs are sliding, so they could push back and force the other one into the drill, or they could lurch forward and push themselves into their own drill to try to buy the other time. And there's a lot of.
It's a real 1960s Batman TV show death trap.
It is, but this villain is straight out of that. She's straight out of that sort of concept. And there's a lot of dialogue back and forth and trying to get them to push the other. And when you finally get to the point where neither of them have moved and the drill's getting closer, and it finally gets to the point where it's going to hit him on the head and the drill bits just sort of buzz and break and fly off. And she explains that they were paper mache, and she basically lets them go. And what she explains is that it was all a ruse. Her actual goal was to kill the guys that had maimed her, and that basically she spent all of that time keeping them distracted so that she would be free to capture and murder and drill holes through the heads, have her gang essentially do that for the people that had been responsible for the boat assassination or kill on her. So, wow, a little bit of a twist, but again, it's that idea of their absence or making, getting her revenge in different ways. It's just kind of an interesting little twist. And she attempts to shoot herself in the head to escape, but actually just escapes anyway.
In true Batman villain style.
Yeah. So, anyway, she survives, and then they're talking about what may happen next time. Because she's still obviously got a bit of a beef with Bruce. But, that's one of those back pocket villains, that's going to be out there, but not. I don't see her popping up for a while.
The birth of the greatest new Batman villain or anything like that.
No, especially because she didn't even face Bruce. This was, this was Dick and Damian, and who knows? Odds are good that Bruce may have figured it out, before they did, obviously. So. But this is not a bad 3-part to pick up. If you're just kind of interested in a very classic sort of Batman villain. This is definitely something that's born out of that lighter, in a sense. Not that the story doesn't have its dark turns and there isn't blood and murder and things, but it definitely has that sort of classic Batman villain feel to it, but a new villain, so it's a little bit different, a little bit interesting. So my capper, and then we'll get on to stuff McFeely read, which is
You say stuff, but
there's two. We're actually going to talk about a Transformers comic, folks.
This
it's
is one of the
bad. It's that bad. So
this is the sort of well, if you enjoyed our chat about Drift a couple of months back, you know, this one probably won't be as vicious.
No.
Oh, but you know what? You remember how I said when we were having that talk about Drift, how I was amazed that Lockdown didn't have his hook already because I totally expected Drift to chop his arm off?
Yes.
That was actually what was supposed to happen in the story.
I think I read that. I
heard
somewhere.
there's an interview with Shane McCarthy. That is actually what was supposed to happen in the story. Alex Milne did a design for Lockdown with two arms, but Hasbro vetoed it because they wanted it to be just like the toy, so it had to come out of the story. Never let it be said, I don't know my contrived shit.
Wow. That's just... You know... Anyway. Sorry, Amy. We'll move on.
I'm not!
God. And do you see that they had to color in, like, part of Wing's head?
Yeah, the trade paperback, they actually
distinguish
color Wing's head with red highlights to make him look less like Drift, because they're all Bishan and Gundams.
You know, I got on the when I was talking about that, I was because I talked about it on RFC with Amy, and Amy's talking to me like I'm a crazy person because I couldn't distinguish between the models, and I'm like, really? They look exactly the same. They look just alike.
Look exactly the same. It's that they're a homogeneous design.
Yeah.
There's no distinction in the design.
No.
They are different.
Well, yes.
Yeah. But they're such a
it's like camouflage
of the same stock elements just gummed together with no regard for trying to make them look like a transformer. They just look like some sort of generic Japanese super robot.
Yeah, it's like the Transformers version of Zebra. It's not that they all look alike, but when you put them all together, how do you tell them apart?
It's like they look all alike in the way that Gundams all look alike.
Yeah.
I know they don't really, but I can't tell you which one's which.
No, and I mean, unless you really studied them and paid attention and cared, yeah, you may not be able to tell them apart.
Nobody
anyway,
did.
I'm sorry, Amy.
And yet nobody is reading Sector 7.
I hear that's good. Apparently, I should.
I know it is good. That's what I'm saying.
Apparently, I should pick it up.
You should pick it up. Last issue out this week.
I know that. Yeah, I think there's a new one. I don't know. I hate to give money. For those. Maybe if IDW would send them to me for free, I would read them and review them. But alas, I'd have to pay for them. So, this is outside of our box. Very exciting, ladies and gentlemen. This is something that's not done by either Marvel or DC. I know.
Chuck,
I know.
We should actively try and do more things like that, but we're stodgy and set in our ways.
And poor. I can't buy everything. 7 comics this week. I thought I was going to die. So, this is first of a 5-part. The story is called Who is Jake Ellis? Very much in that sort of Born Identity, maybe sort of feel. Definitely has like a sort of spy, maybe espionage sort of feel to it.
Who is this from?
Let's see, who is doing this? Nathan Edmondson and Tansy Zonic?
Oh, Tansy Zonic, okay, yeah. I don't know the writer, but I know the artist. This is Image, right?
Yes, this is Image Comics. So, kind of interesting story. Opens up Barcelona, and you can see that our hero is sitting across the table from two what appear to be unsightly gentlemen. Gentlemen that maybe not have the best intentions, we'll say. And they're basically talking something about some schematics or something that he was supposed to get, and that apparently he didn't get. And he starts talking, but you can tell he's sort of speaking in a vague way that doesn't necessarily pertain to how he's talking to them. And he picks up a bottle of liquor and shoots it, and it explodes into fire, and the guys catch on fire, and he steals something out of one of the guy's pocket, goes running, gets shot from behind, but ducks and misses the bullet, and then jumps off the side of a boat. And then it goes back.
Action-packed.
And it says 15 seconds ago. Now, it's basically the same panels, the same dialogue, as far as from the main character and from the side characters that are in this story, except there's another character there, a man in black, with a very short haircut, standing around, and he's advising our main character. And you never see him actually moving. He's always just sort of standing there. So as the story progresses on, you can see that he's trying to avoid... apparently he's had dealings with people, but they're always mentioned by like the name of their country of origin, which apparently there's... let's see. There's one country of people that he's trying to stay away from, which I think was the Spanish, and then apparently the really, really bad people are the Americans. But there's a whole sequence where, and it doesn't matter, like this guy in black is always there, but yet he seems to have his own like individual identity, because there's panels where he's sort of longingly looking out a window, or just sort of hanging around. But he seems to have at least a larger set of vision. But he's, there's a whole sequence here where Jake is basically trying to escape from these men they're trying to kill him, and the gentleman sort of directs him about where to jump, where to run, where to go, but again, always sort of standing there, never running or moving with him. So I don't know if this is like a second personality, or is it someone that's actually there? I mean, I don't know. But what I know is this is really good. It was really action-packed, and I've got to know what's going on, because he's basically running, but you don't know why, and you don't know what's happened, and you don't know what's up with the other guy, who doesn't appear. He appears to have like a wide range of vision, but he doesn't appear to be like omnipotent or omniscient or whichever term is correct. But at the end of the comic, Jake has gotten onto a train to try to escape from these guys, and now that they're on the train, they find out that some of the guys that are actually after him are actually on the train and got onto the train. So now he's sort of stuck on the train with them, and that's where it leaves off. So really good. Really like it. The art is amazing. It's very stylized.
Now, Jonesy Zonjic, she did the Heralds miniseries with Marvel that I kept talking about a couple months ago.
I thought this looked familiar. Now, it's a little bit different than that style, I think. I think this is a lot more...
Well, she didn't do all the issues, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, but I think there were a few of those I saw. But this is... Yeah, like I said, there's a definite sort of a movement to it, but it's very good. And like I said, story-wise, it's really interesting. So yeah, I'm going to be picking this up. I recommend you do the same, because it's actually going to be really cool, I think.
It's always good when we can get out of our comfort zone a little bit.
And I think so, too. And I think especially for comic readers, because we do get so boxed in. I mean, we get those few comics that we're really comfortable with and that we read every week. And, there's good stuff out there. I mean, writers change, artists change all the time. That changes the dynamic of a series. I mean, I think, is this a new artist on Secret Six, even?
It's not somebody who's been working on it recently, no.
Yeah, so, I mean, and even that changes some of the dynamic of the story. But yeah, so, good stuff. So do that. Try that out. Okay, so McFeely. Man. I'm going 15.
We want to start there then, shall we?
Yeah, might as well.
You know what? It's not too bad.
Relative to...
to the lack of anything else I read this week. Relative to the last issue. Relative to the entire international incident storyline.
God. You know, I'm just gonna throw out there that when your story starts out with 4 pages and 15 panels worth of 2 characters just having dialogue with each other, wow.
Yeah, this is a universal problem for Mike Costa's comics, where he doesn't make economic use of the space that is available to him. You know, this is not a 3-page discussion that is out there. This is maybe 2 pages, maybe a page and a half. You know,
yeah.
But it's huge, empty panels with one speech bubble to a panel. Admittedly, there are a couple of ones that are nice, big speech bubbles. It takes a little bit to read, but yeah, he doesn't make economic use of his panels. Yes. Although he does, I mean, that's really a pretty decent job of pacing the mostly flat exposition as an issue.
Yeah, but this, I mean, that's like your first 3 pages. That's where you're supposed to, like, grab your audience. I'm falling asleep after the first 3 pages. I'm like, really? Is this a Kevin Smith comic? What the hell?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I've seen stories start this way. You know, this is you know, it's just the scene in question, for people who haven't read the comic, is a newsreader interviewing a member of an anti-extraterrestrial group who are currently being blamed for an assassination attempt on Bumblebee. So it's a lot of spin, and you really want to punch the dude in the face. But because of the art in question, he really looks like he's been punched in the face a couple of times, and they've had to, like, reset his broken nose, and his face is sort of caved in, and his eyes are all drooping.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. Get on the art on this issue. This is by Don Figueroa, who is Transformers artist extraordinaire, who has fallen out of favor, it must be admitted, in the last year and a half, whenever he chronically altered his style for the ongoing series to what he denied was deliberately more movie-esque, but is, plainly. And it's funny, because you can even tell from looking at this issue and the last issue that he did that he has modified the style a bit to try and make it work more on the Transformers' faces, but his humors are worse than. And I was only on the movie, so I was talking about the second. And R7, that issue in particular, is a little bit unremarkable, but it's solid throughout, and it's solid in all respects. The humans are solid, the Transformers are solid, the backgrounds are solid. Nothing mind-blowing. But frankly, I'd like to see a bit more solid work on Transformers, because more and more these days, it's kind of a holdover from the Dreamwave era.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly wasn't a problem for early IDW when you had great artists like E.J. Sue who could draw people in Transformers just as well as the other. But more and more now, the people who are being hired to work on the Transformers books are the people who can draw nifty robots with everything else falling secondary. And Don Figueroa's weird, droop-faced cartoon people are not, given heavy humans to draw when he can't.
And he's been drawing Transformers, though, he's been
he's been drawing Transformers for nearly a decade.
Oh, since the ATT days. I mean, that was...
Yeah.
Oh, we're going back, sir.
Yeah, I mean, just like professionally, he's been drawing Transformers for nearly a decade.
Yeah. So.
And, yeah. I don't know.
Oh, those were the days.
I don't know, I think I heard something about him wanting out of it again, but... If I may use my public forum to be brutally honest, the last time he got out of Transformers was 3 issues into a 4-issue Beast Wars miniseries. And then he came back, a year later with the BotCon comic. And he's drawing them again now, and the only thing he accomplished doing that saw print in the intervening retirement was doing a robot, Simon Furman, Terminator Salvation. So,
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's a paycheck. So I'm sure as long as W keeps checks,
I could definitely see somebody who would get tired of doing this sort of thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not
if he wants to do, if he's changing his style of art to have, a reason, to keep on drawing.
All respect to Don, but it's not like there's a lot of comic book companies out there that are really doing all robot comics.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, issue. Revenge of the Decepticons Part 2, Altered Carbon, in which we get an extensive flashback that reveals how Shockwave and Soundwave rebuilt the fatally damaged Megatron, damaged at the end of All Hail Megatron, about a year and a half ago. 2 years. And rebuilt him into a new form that made its shocking debut, issue 13, except the cover with him on it was revealed a few days before that. Shocking, not so much.
Yeah.
Let's do this issue. There are a lot of rather interesting concepts, but this issue is really just an exercise in connecting the dots, so there's not a lot to say. The main means of the original body have been reconstructed into weapons, which have been sent to Earth and used by and disseminated by humans. Like this is a crafty thing about it, is that the Decepticons are actively using the greed and of humanity to perpetrate this. They're not actively spreading the weapons around the Earth. They've just sent weapons to Earth where they know that humans will find them and disseminate them illegally around the world. I'm not sure where it is exactly. I forget where. It seems like
yeah,
like that.
But
then this is each of the weapons contains a small piece of Megatron's consciousness, so he's spread across America like a neural net that's him to interface with other machines. It's a really interesting idea. The Decepticons exploring the paranoia of Western America against foreigners and aliens and the other.
yeah,
And it turns out that the guy who shot Bumblebee had one of these guns and was pushed and cajoled and had his mind unhinged. He was a Bible belter who feared anything outside of the normal, and Megatron convinced him to shoot Bumblebee.
yeah, it reminds me of Warcraft 3, like that story out of Warcraft 3 for how they spread the plague and basically took over. The Scourge took over. If you're not familiar with Warcraft 3, it's a great story. You should play through the game. But it kind of reminds me of that, which is fine. I'm all for, I think it's interesting, at least, in that respect. I do think it's a little, it doesn't seem very, I guess it's more of a Megatron move, and maybe if they're trying to, if Megatron's being a little more, it's supposed to be trying a little more behind the scenes than he has been. Obviously, All Hell Megatron was definitely a balls out sort of.
Yes, the idea of the Decepticons going back to more subversive means of conquest is how IDW started out.
Mm-hmm.
And something we completely lost after All Hail Megatron. So it's nice to see some of the intent return, if not the direct ideas, facsimile constructs and things like that, and inciting the ideas of. I just like the fact that the idea that the group that's on the internet that's disseminating these weapons is not, as people were theorizing about the issue, it's not a Decepticon organization that we know of yet. It is just some genuine ignorant human beings who live in this world who will give guns out to middle-aged Midwestern white people who don't want anything outside of their comfort zone appearing in their country,
Well, and I think that's very, that's very topical. It's very current.
Of course, it could next issue. It might turn out that this smarmy get who's being hosted on television could be a facsimile construct running the organization, and the timely nature of it may be lost a little bit.
Or it could be being mind controlled, the same way, by Megatron.
I just want to believe that he's not. I just want to believe he's some dick.
That would be great, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I think the norm and the motivation is going to be to push it in, where he's being controlled in some way. But yeah, I think the more interesting story would be that he is just a guy. You know these. What was the movie with the kid that was like piloting the alien exosuit? That's what these models remind me of. You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
God, what was that
What
movie?
it's called, though.
Someone in the chat will tell me here in just a second.
Come on, folks.
God, what was that movie? Star Kid?
Star.
No, not
not
the
Flight of the Navigator.
No, Flight of the Navigator.
Boy,
no.
no skeleton. Movie kid.
Exosuit.
Trying to figure it out now. Live television.
I know, isn't it riveting that we are? That I wouldn't. As I told our listeners earlier, I'm not very good with names, so. It was God. It was with that really annoying kid. That was really popular, like, I don't know, 5-10 years ago. It was like 5 years ago, probably.
I know the film. I can't remember the name of it, though.
I'll think of it in a minute. It was like Star Kid or something like that, I swear.
Star... okay, well, we probably better leave this for now.
Yeah, I think it was Star Kid, but
I don't think it was.
nope, yeah, it is. I was right. Star Kid. That's the movie. Star Kid, and the name of the kid that was in it doesn't matter. Anyway, so the point is the models look like that. That's all they
That's
remind me of.
actually the thing I was thinking of too. I really didn't think that was the name of it. Okay.
Don't know why I knew that, but doesn't it? Those are. I mean, that's exact. I mean, it's like.
There's something to it, yeah, the buggy-eyedness of the Transformers, but at least they're actually able to make facial expressions now, which they genuinely couldn't.
True.
In the first 6 issues of the thing. I'm not exactly sure what it is he's tightened up, but it's working a little better now. And then, anyway, after all this big flashback happens, Ultra Magnus sends Brawn on a special mission, and you're supposed to think it's that he's been told to go and find Thundercracker when Thundercracker comes to his secret cave hideout and finds somebody waiting for him. But bum bum bum, on the last page it turns out that it's Starscream.
I'm shocked. Are you shocked? I'm shocked.
I actually really turn the page. I can't say I'm shocked, but
well, that's more of what I was getting to. It's not that I knew who it was, but it was like once it was like, oh, okay.
The next issue has Brawn punching Sideswipe in the face, so perhaps it's.
Yeah, could be.
I think that's Sideswipe. Hard to tell, but I'm thinking.
No, that's Starscream or Thundercracker or somebody.
I know it is.
It's one of the secret heads.
I guess it's got the anti-ears. How do you even know with art? Like, I mean,
because it's the head. It
seems to he's got the ear vents, and he does seem to have the head with the forehead thing.
The forehead vent. Yep.
And no, they don't have those in Don Figueroa's artwork.
Yeah, well, that's not who did this panel, though, is it?
But no, I think that was Nick Roach.
Yeah. So.
Awesome.
It is. Yeah.
But
oh, Barricade 64 is saying it's Starscream. So.
Yeah. Must be that little bit of red creeping in the bottom left. Maybe they think it was Sideswipe. So hopefully, well, maybe he has just been sent to find Thundercracker then. How wonderful.
Okay.
So yeah, there's not a world that we can actually say about this issue because it's just expanding on the ideas that the previous issue had forth and connecting the dots for the audience. But in general, the dots being connected. There's certainly a more interesting use of human conflict, like the international incident, which is definitely the nadir of the ongoing series thus far.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is it has potential. Now, I'm gonna reserve until we actually know, how that potential plays out. But, I think my concern, based on other things I've seen out of this, is that our vision of the potential for where the story is going is not necessarily how the story is going to play out.
True, we have seen this happen more than once with IDW.
Oh, Megatron. I'm sorry, something.
Well, to be fair to All Hail Megatron, I think that probably played exactly as you would have expected it to, because it was a big, dumb summer action film.
But it didn't. But again, the potential that was laid out initially, it didn't.
Oh yes, when before the film came out. When the idea was that, hey, it's 1 year later, the Decepticons have invaded and conquered. The way the promotion for All Hail Megatron was presented made it seem like we were going to be coming in after the Decepticons had made their conquest of Earth, and we were going to be seeing a Decepticon-dominated world and what life had become.
Right. And
but no,
that's not what we got.
The year was basically just there as an excuse to change everything. Rather than see, it's like with 52, whereas the year gap was specifically used to bring in a whole load of crazy changed premises that would then be filled in retroactively.
Yeah.
And shocked with its newness. All Hail Megatron, the year was just a safety buffer, so that he could come in and do some new shit.
Yeah. Which...
without having to worry about what had just immediately happened beforehand.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I say. I mean, I'm not... Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of the series, although I am, like, reading it now.
It's still better than Drift.
It's still better than Drift. Yeah. I mean... So... Anyway, so there you go. Ongoing 15.
It's better than Drift.
It's better than Drift. That's our tagline.
And you can take that to the bank.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always on key with that at Fanboy Versus. So, I guess that brings us then to Secret Six.
Yes, I guess it does. Hey, good comic.
Why don't you talk all about this, sir?
Well, this follows on from last issue of Action Comics, which we all enjoyed last week before last, was it? In which Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage are negotiating for, I don't really remember what it is that they're actually after, because I suppose you don't really need to know. It's just the fact that these two men are in a room together, and Lex Luthor has hired the Secret Six as security. But at the dramatic conclusion of Action Comics, a detonator fell on the ground and its button was depressed. Except at the exciting opening of this issue, turns out it wasn't pressed quite all the way, and if anybody moves, it might get pressed the rest of the way. Tension.
A little convoluted tension, but whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of this is really, it's quite sedate by Secret Six standards, because although there are quite a few explosions and force fields and robot women and so forth, it is mostly about Vandal Savage and Lex Luthor saying really Shakespearean overdramatic things to one another, while this thereby giving the rest of the Secret Six the chance to say snarky and amusing things. Mm-hmm. In the course of the episode. Vandal Savage is there pontificating about how, Lex Luthor's death, his unmourned burial among the unfulfilled promise of life would delight him most wonderfully, and then just in the background you've got Catman leaning over and saying to Scandal, I didn't think it was possible, but your father might be a bigger piece of crap than my father.
Which, considering Cats in the Cradle, yeah. yeah. Cats in the Cradle
out in trade paperback this week, folks.
Yes. Please go buy that. Oh
That's
my God.
It. If you've heard us talk good things about Secret Six, and you've been wanting to try the book out, but you didn't know where to jump on, Secret Six, Cats in the Cradle, trade paperback, this Wednesday. For the love of God, read it.
Yes.
Find out what all the fuss is about. That's basically how the hook of the issue. They're shouting back and forth at one another from opposite ends of a table, while Vandal Savage...
No, you've missed one of the best elements of this comic.
What have I missed? Oh, but the whole thing is being retroactively narrated by Ragdoll, who believes they've died.
Yes!
He's recounting the events of maybe the first half of this comic, in which ultimately leads to them failing to get the detonator and it going off, and Ragdoll believing that they're dead. But they're not.
No.
And that's how we let the bomb go off and kill every one of us. I'm donating my body to science, specifically that of sexual freakism.
Yes.
At least I think that's what happened.
Oh,
But
man.
Lex Luthor used his chewing gum force field. Awesome.
Wow.
That's real. That is real Grant Morrison-y. It reminds me of something very specific, but I can't quite bring to mind what it is. You know, it's just really crazy weapons and stuff like that. But it's a bit Pratchett-y almost, but Terry Pratchett. Just like something that does whatever because he says it. A bit Alan Moore-ish almost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Chewing gum, that he chews it and it makes a force field when he's chewing it. It's almost Willy Wonka-ish.
Yes, it is. But it's so wacky that you just don't even. There's so many other things going on and great dialogue that just.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it climaxes with the point where Lex Luthor is shielded safely in his bubblegum force field with the bomb about to go off, and then he says, Vandal Savage just scandal to be saved, you know? And Lex says, fine, but all he wants is that Vandal Savage has to say that he beat him.
Yeah.
And that's all out of all for everything. That is just what Lex has been wanting out of this whole story, and that's why he hired Scandal and the Secret Six to manipulate the whole situation. I mean, the whole issue is them playing what TV tropes would call Xanatos speed chess back and forth, where every new twist in the situation has one of them going, I know how to turn this to my advantage. I had always planned for this. Back and forth, back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I'll say another thing for this issue. Black Alice was actually sort of useful.
I was surprised Black Alice was in it. I really thought she was done with this book after the resolution to her story at the end of the Reptile Brain. But
I wonder if it wasn't an artifact of the Action Comics crossover, and that she may be
including her before. Yeah,
I mean, because it's not like she's on the cover or anything. I mean, you know, as a part of the actual six. I mean, because she does make 7, But yeah, but she was actually kind of useful. She had the whole Dr. Fate thing that she did, and then she did the
bubblegum ball.
Cut the bubblegum ball with the Green Lantern, a bit classic Green Lantern, Green Lantern Earth 2-ish powers, mind you. But yeah, right on, good on.
And then
you.
basically the two they come to Luthor and Savage come to a sort of agreement as they understand that they're a lot more alike than just as they watch their own men, which basically amounts to the Secret Six versus Robot Lois. And as Savage says, they will never understand what we do. How murder is often the most economical option. All business is war, and all war is business. Just a lot of really pithy lines, you know.
Now, this background on Scandal's
Yeah,
mother-
this was the stinger at the end, the real Secret Six. Just so you made sure you knew you were reading an issue of Secret Six. After everybody was finished saying really sarcastic, witty things and speaking the truth to power when they really shouldn't have been, you just get this horrible rubber stamp of death and misery at the end of the issue.
which is just amazingly screwed up and awesome.
Just a lovely key bit of, you know, whereas the issue, fun as it has been, has felt a little less than key, because even the Reptile Brain did some very important things in the course of its story. This has just been a bit of fun, you know. This has just been part of an artifact of a bigger story playing out over in Action Comics. They attached this story at the end of Scandal's mother, and how she was the one woman, I beg your pardon, the one woman that Vandal Savage had ever loved. But frankly, being a caveman, thousands of years old, I imagine he's probably loved a couple of men down the line as well.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, and how she hated him, but he loved her for the fact that she was the one woman who would stand up to him, you know, and she married him, and then I almost don't want to tell, but you know, here's the spoilers. So basically, she loved him, she married him, bore his daughter, and then 3 years later, she killed herself purely to spite him.
Just as a fuck you. That is
Just as a fuck you,
awesome.
she killed herself with the blades Scandal now uses as her own weapons.
What a story, man.
Dude, fucked up.
That is awesome.
Totally.
I mean, that is just insight into that connection between, why. It's beautiful. It tells you why Scandal is so important to Vandal, and it gives you a sense of why, more so even, why Scandal is sort of screwed up and weird.
I think you can also see why she rejected man.
Yeah.
Because the one major man in her life drove the woman in her life to do that to herself.
Yeah. Yeah. Although Gale keeps playing with this Bane thing, and I'm not sure where she's going with that. But there seems, I don't know. It's kind of weird. But anyway, but then that she uses the blade, I mean, come on. It's amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is.
I turned the page and I was like, no.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When Lex Luthor turns at the end of it and he says, somehow despite all the war, genocide, and pillaging, it never really hit me. You really are a bit of a monster, aren't you? Vandal Savage yells, yes. I am.
That's awesome.
Awesome indeed.
Awesome. And then
Ragdoll just closes the issue out. It just goes to show sometimes the scars are on the inside, like that Luthor and that Vandal fellow and my friends too, which is much less fun and only half as sexy. Secret Six never change.
I think we got Doom
This
Patrol.
is definitely the book a little bit more to back on for. I think basically it doesn't really feel like an issue of Secret Six because of the Action Comics tie-in,
Yeah.
The Secret Six lives out there on the fringes, so whenever it finds itself pulled into dealing with Lex Luthor, it's a little weird, and the general tone of the thing is more. I think it's basically the tone of the thing is more in line with Action Comics than it is your average issue of Secret Six up until the very end there.
Mm-hmm.
When you're definitely reminded you're reading Secret Six with the twisted family hate at the very end.
Yeah.
But definitely, I think just like more enjoyable as a single issue than most of the Reptile Brain was.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm definitely looking forward to the upcoming story. I think it kicks off next issue in Secret Six as well.
Doom Patrol.
The Doom Patrol, but also the fact that they're about to start a story where someone. Have you read Secret Six from the very start?
No. I picked up at
The
Cats and
first
Cradle.
story arc of Secret Six features the Six trying to guard a mysterious card from the forces of a mysterious hooded villain called Junior, who sends many B-level mercenaries after them to get this mysterious card back. And I think it's about 2/3 of the way into the story when it's revealed that the card, forged by the demon Neron himself, can let any one soul free from hell.
Ooh,
It's a get out of hell free card.
nice.
Coming back in the next storyline when one of the Six tries to use it.
Ooh,
And I'm really looking forward to that.
nice.
Yes, you should go buy all the other Secret Six trades too.
I should actually. That's a good idea.
Where did you kick? You kicked off with Cats in the Cradle, didn't you?
Yeah. I think,
Well, I think that means there are three trades, not counting Villains United and the original 6 Degrees of Devastation miniseries before the ongoing started. But you should read them as well.
Very well.
6 Degrees of Devastation is about the Mad Hatter being on the team, and it's great too. And it's got Vandal Savage in it as well.
So nice. But hey, that's our show. So we didn't have a special guest, but maybe next week.
Yes, timing.
So yeah, and then maybe we'll have Triplet back next week as well. So I don't know where he was, but anyway. So that's our show. So a couple of house cleaning things, as we always do at the end of the show. Again, we want to thank Comic News International. It's Comic News I, because we are now affiliated with them. They post our show over there. It's super cool. So we thank them for that. Also, again, we are part of the TF Radio Network, and there's tons of shows over there to check out, not just ours, because we know that ours is the most important, but there are other great shows like Radio Free Cybertron. Hey, that show's been around for like 10 years, so you should check it out if you like Transformers. Get the Skinny is the new show that Brian and I are doing about weight loss, and we're trying to lose weight, and we're doing that on that show. Who knows, man? Superhero Time. Outside the Cage was a new episode of Outside the Cage, which is all about mixed martial arts. I mean, gosh, we have a show like for every week. New Soundwave. I was on New Soundwave this past week talking about DC Universe Online. So if you're interested in my review of that game, you can check it out on the last episode of New Soundwave. I know I'm leaving stuff out, but there's a lot of great shows. So you check them out on the TF Radio Network. That's tfradio.com. Also, I think that's it. I don't think we have any contests. I know that I'm wanting to work on a contest for
Our anniversary
show. I think I've got an idea what I'm going to do. I just have to figure out how to financially implement it as such. So
finances.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're a small network of shows, have to be paid for. You know, we do all of that, but we want to do contests. We like to give y'all stuff for listening, so, you know, we like to do that. Oh, one more thing I was going to say. There obviously are people listening live. We do this show live every week. Starting at 4:30 Eastern time is when we do this show, 3:30 Central, and then you can just track it back from there. Or what time is it if you're in Ireland, England area? About what time is the show start? Nope. We lost.
What? I cut off there.
Oh, I lost you there. What time does the show start if you're in
9:30.
9:30 p.m. On Sunday?
Yep,
Sunday. Okay.
Well, it is Sunday.
It is Sunday.
Yeah, it's not Monday or anything over here.
No, it's Sunday.
I'm not in Japan.
No, that's a lot further over. I'm an American. I'm stupid. All right, we don't even understand how to use the metric system, so you have to bear with me. Why we keep that? Anyway, so there you go. Listen to the show. You can listen live. tfradio.net/live. tfradio.net. Why did I say com? tfradio.net. /live. You can listen to the show live. If not, you can also download the show in video format and watch it. You can even take the RSS feed that's like the iTunes feed, and you can watch it on your TiVo. If you want help with that, email me, jd@tfradio.net, and I'll tell you how to set it up, because it's pretty darn cool. You can watch RFC, our show, New Soundwave, all on video. Get Skinnies on there as well, all video format. So very cool, very neat stuff, especially if you like watching this show and like watching me talk for like 2 hours.
You and only you.
Yeah, me and only me. I don't have the cool
lighting conditions are not good over here at 9:30 at night for my webcam.
So yeah, and I don't have the cool rig.
Very orange and fuzzy and dark.
I have to have the cool rig like Kilby has, where he has like the monitor behind him to do the whole thing. Because again, we are don't watch the Superhero Time I don't think is on video.
Well, nobody watches that show.
Well, a lot of people listen to that. You know, they've got all those your mom jokes over there. We don't have like a hook like that.
We're cultured and civilized over here.
Fuck that, whatever. We have no culture. Although we do have you, so we're kind of international. See, that's always my hook. That's why always my trump to kill me.
We're from across the ocean.
You know, it's like, oh yeah, well my show has Chris McFeely.
Not something to be proud of.
So people love you over here. Anyway, so there you go. That's the show. That's it. That's us. We're gonna get the heck out of here and let you go home to, or get on to whatever other podcast you may be needing to listen to. But please, as always, tune in next time when it'll be Fanboy Versus.
This has been Fanboy Versus with your hosts, J.D. Church, Chris McFeely, and Chris Triplett. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Like the podcast? Leave us feedback on iTunes. Copyright 2010 Radio Free Cybertron.